king, a tidal wave. Essence perfect, life looks brilliant, give me more of this. I'm out of control, about to blow, and I've been caught in the undertow. So toxic, but I can't get enough. You're burying me, burying me. Yeah, you're burying me, burying me. You've got me hypnotized, push me out of myself. You've got me hypnotized. I can see, I can hear, going crazy for the light. It's got me hypnotized. You've got me hypnotized. Get you out of my pen again.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Marvel Talk. We're here on a Saturday, so you know what that means. There's a new Marvel movie out. And of course, it's the summer's most exciting movie. It's the movie everybody's been waiting to see this summer. It's the movie Marvel fans have been waiting for since, well, probably before the Marvels, because Andre and I really like the Marvels, but apparently, according to Hollywood Deadline already, Deadpool has already surpassed the profit margins of the Marvels already. And we're not even out of the opening weekend.
That's insanity.
I am, of course, Ol'Ed Ed Fries, and I'm joined by my Marvel Talk tag team partner, the man up there, Andre C. And Andre, can you please give us a gracious introduction to one of our special guests? The other one's on his way back.
Well, our special guest that's in the room with us, my trainer, my friend, Rich King, baby. Welcome to the show, Rich King.
What's good,
Rich
baby?
King, as some of you will have seen, he wrestles for LPW. I believe he wrestles for RCW, or used to wrestle for RCW. The Edmonton, Alberta Canadian scene, that whole scene up there.
Absolutely. I'm all over the place up here, pretty much all of Western Canada, so it's fun times.
And if you're looking for a workout, man, that is the man to talk to. He's like Andre said, he's getting Andre in shape. So if you can do that for Andre, he can do it for all of us.
He's helped me build these.
Yeah, buddy.
You're not quite Mount Melly levels yet, Andre, but you're getting there.
Getting there.
Just watch him deadlift, that's all I gotta say.
Yeah.
We will indeed watch him deadlift on another edition of Marvel Talk. But we're here to go ahead and talk about Wolverine and Deadpool, because Deadpool and Wolverine, however you want to talk about it.
Oh, there you go.
Does anybody actually have any non-spoiler versions of opinions of this movie, or should we just go straight to the spoilers?
You have to see this. It's amazing.
I kind of echo that, where it's like, this is a movie that you don't really want spoiled for you. You want to go see this before, and you want to be able to talk about it with your friends. If you've been following comic book movies in any shape or form over the last, let's say, 20 years, like, this is the movie for you. The levels of fan service is unreal. And if you thought like Spider-Man No Way Home did something cool, like, wait until you see this.
Yeah. I agree with Andre. Just go see the flipping movie. Pay your $5, your $10, your $15, whatever it might cost to go see it. I saw it in Dolby Digital, and I don't think I'd ever go any lower than Dolby watching this movie.
I sat in a nice theater that had a nice reclining comfy seat, nice big screen, good sound. I was happy.
Yeah.
All I know is Like a Prayer has been stuck in my head for the last 3 days. So
the sound, but let's just look before we go into our spoiler review. Let's go into the soundtrack. Is this one of the best soundtracks for a movie ever, or is it just me that loved everything they played?
It's a close hit, that's for sure. Like, there's a lot of good ones, and you can say that about, that's been something that's recurring theme in a lot of these Deadpool movies, has just been like how good the music is to it. And I'm sure on Monday you're going to see a lot of these songs are trending on like iTunes or Spotify or whatever other source you use. But yeah, this is up there for one of the better ones.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say it almost rivals Guardians of the Galaxy as the music is.
Yeah,
it's not as important to the story as Guardians is. Like James Gunn did a very nice job of making the music matter to the story, whereas I think Sean Levy and Ryan really did a really good job of picking songs that matched the mood of the movie, not so much the mood of the story of the movie.
100%. But like I find, but like living on a prayer, all that music, it plays in that when they're doing the stuff when Madonna's song is playing, that is part of the scene. I think they got close to what James Gunn did in telling a story in this just as much. I think it's just that much short of the original Guardians, but I think it does a better job than Guardians 2 and Guardians 3 did. In the way a soundtrack affects how you watch a movie.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think I'm thinking of the opening number. I think is very they just picked a fun song that looked like it was going to be cool. Yeah. Once we get to the spoiler section, we will have an in-depth talk about that opening number.
I feel like talking about just the music is almost a spoiler. Like you don't even want to mention songs are on the thing because it's they're ingrained with the scene so much. But I think like the way you know that they use the right song for the movie is that when you leave, that song's stuck in your head. So while there's a few songs I think they just kind of threw in because it's like, oh, this would be fun here, and didn't play a lot of integral parts, like Guardians, for example, I think a lot of them did land pretty well.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Mike the Ref jumping in, as all three of us know this wonderful man, Mike the Ref. So you're saying this movie is better than X-Men's Origins Wolverine? That's hard to believe. Maybe. I know it's a stretch to say that it's better than the X-Men Origins Wolverine. I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say it's probably better.
Remember that Deadpool it was shot in the head by Deadpool.
Yes, he was.
They even reference him going back in time in this one.
All right, we're going to go ahead and, Mark's not here. We're going to go ahead and jump into spoiler territory. So anybody who hasn't seen the movie, anybody who doesn't want things spoiled for you, Astrid, I know you asked me for specific spoilers and I gave them to you on Thursday. Beyond that, if you don't want spoilers, now's the time to leave. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The opening of this movie, with doing the one thing they said they weren't going to do, is so fucking awesome. Throughout all of the press, Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman continued to state that they were not going to touch the ending of Logan. They weren't going to touch it at all. They weren't going to change it. They were going to do nothing. That the ending of Logan is its own thing, and it's staying untouched and perfect, and it's in the future, so it doesn't matter.
Debatably, they didn't change the ending.
And in the first 5 seconds of the movie, we have Deadpool digging up Wolverine's corpse.
Technically, they didn't affect the ending of that movie. It's just a continuation of the ending of that movie.
All right. We'll let Ryan get by on semantics there.
Semantics are what makes the world go round.
What did we think of the NSYNC Bye 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 opening fight scene? Did anybody have NSYNC on their bingo card of must-need fight scene music?
With all the music, just touching base on that again, they did something kind of interesting that I noticed, at least, is like they would start a little bit of the song where they would like play a bit, then they would cut it out, and then they would just go right back into the song. So it's like you get that little tease. It's like, oh, is this coming? And then it's like, oh, here we go. The way they fit in, like, the action scene with the dancing, with the music, like it was just so entertaining, and I think it's like what they needed to kick the movie off.
Yes, it's sensational. Now, do we think Ryan did the dancing, or do we think that his stunt double did the dancing?
I want to believe he did, but
I want to believe he got Justin Timberlake to come do the goddamn dance, or Lance Bass, or any of them to come do the dance.
We'll talk about cameos in a bit. We haven't got that far yet. We're still only 20 seconds in.
That's what I truly want to believe, that he got one of those guys to come and do the dance for him.
I hope that comes out. Yeah, that would be fantastic to see. But even just the opening spiel of him kind of going on the rant and just kind of proving that going to Disney didn't change anything to do with this movie. In fact, it kind of probably added more fuel to the Deadpool fire, essentially. That was great too. Like just as he's digging up Wolverine's corpse, going on the rant about Disney and all that was great. Great way to start.
I loved how this movie, there was no sacred cows when it came to Disney or Marvel. Like there were jokes made and there were things that were done that like Marvel had no, like there's a Gina Carano reference in this movie after she got fired from Disney in The Mandalorian. You know, there are hundreds of jokes about Marvel when it comes to one character saying, "I'm the one and only ever version of this character," to mock on the fact that a particular movie has still yet to get out of into production.
Well, I mean, even later in the movie, later in the movie, they end up going on a rant about how like everything after Endgame has kind of been very miss, and like this whole multiverse thing hasn't worked, and it was very on the nose, and it's just kind of like, okay, let's see where they go from here, if it just kind of continues, or if this is its own.
I love that he's saying like just kill it, end it. Like he's yelling at Disney saying, "End the multiverse. We need something new." I'm like, yeah.
And as we're going to find out later tonight, we do know that Hall H happens in about 3 hours from now. Marvel will be at Hall H again for the first time in a few years, I believe, presenting at Hall H. So that's going to be a big show, and we're expected to hear about the beginning of the mutant saga. That will be coming as we wrap up the multiverse saga with Secret Wars. Post Secret Wars, we're starting to rumors are to be believed. We're going to be heading into the mutant saga, which makes sense because we're getting the Fantastic Four. We know we're getting an X-Men movie, so like we know that we're heading in that direction. Kamala Khan and Namor are both considered mutants in this new terminology, so it makes sense that that would be the route that we're going to go to, that kind of a saga. And speak of the devil and he shall appear. Not Disney, but Mark Talks Wrestling is here to join us. How you doing, Mark?
Yeah, I'm marvelous. Yeah,
welcome back, sir.
That was a lot of fun.
Just your computer fall apart on you.
Yeah, the internet decided to die. The computer then decided it didn't want to do anything, and now I'm using my phone in my living room doing this because I need to talk about this. That's why.
Yes. So quickly, your opinion on the opening with the
bye
the grave and bye.
God. It is the greatest intro to a film I have experienced in my entire existence of a human being. The bye was so good that I was at one point. I'm so thankful that no one was sat around me when I was in the cinema, because at one point during it, I was just going, I was just doing all the what he was doing on the screen. I was like, yes, this is what I need. And then using Wolverine's body to kill everyone was just,
yeah,
perfection.
Rich, why don't you go ahead and give more of your thoughts as we get into that opening sequence with the TVA fight and all that?
Yeah, again, it just they've done this a couple times with the Deadpool movie where they start kind of in the middle of the, like, I guess early middle of the movie, and then they work their way back. So I thought that was a lot of fun, and then implementing a lot of the TVA side of things. And just again, the uniqueness of using Wolverine's corpse as a weapon was super interesting, and just like the gruesomeness of some of the kills were just wild to watch, and it just kind of like it just blends that action with like the comedy so well. Like the movies just lend itself so much to just nonstop laughs while watching somebody get like disemboweled with Wolverine's rib.
Like, just the fact that he's got the spine, and he's just like whipping people with an adamantium spine and like slashing them up.
Yeah.
The bones. Oh, so good.
Well, even what happened again, it happens a little bit later on. They do a little bit of the exposition between, but when eventually he puts on the actual claws and he gets lodged into one man's ass and another man's dick.
Yes.
And the other guy comes in like, "What are you doing?" That was it's immature comedy gold, though.
But it's Deadpool. That's what we're there for. Like, if that's not funny to you, you're at the wrong movie already.
Yeah. And that's where I see a lot of the criticism online about the movie is just like all these things. And it's like, why are you at a Deadpool movie expecting like, The Wolf of Wall Street or something? It's like, this is just going to be a dumb, fun movie. Like, just go turn your brain off, which is nice.
It was always about
just like that, Mark.
Yeah, it was always about fan service, in my opinion, with this movie. I knew they were going to, because again, they're wrapping up a universe, and then continuing on is what they're doing. So like, I didn't expect Shakespeare here.
It was the bit I think I laughed way too much, as you said, with the fist up the arse and then the fist in the front, and it was just the way he was going. I'm trying, but he just kept. Oh my god, I have never laughed so hard at one point just because of that. It was just brilliant, utterly brilliant.
Yeah.
If that wasn't enough, as we move on into the next portion of the movie, we get that Deadpool, like the logo shot where he's like, all right, now we got to go back. They tell the entire story of Deadpool 1 and 2. They talk about all the things he did in the post-credit scenes of the second movie.
So good.
And then we get the one part I'm still confused about, and I'll need an explanation from somebody. We then get Deadpool in 616. For those that don't know, all of the X-Men movies theoretically all exist in a universe in universe 10025.
Yeah, well, the one they were in this one,
That's the universe where Deadpool lives.
Yeah.
And then theoretically that's the same universe where X1, X2, X3, the new versions with McAvoy and what's his name?
Oh, Fassbender.
Yeah. All of that, they all exist in the 1025 universe. But we get Wade Wilson, Deadpool, with Happy Hogan trying to become an Avenger.
We had the wristwatch, so maybe using he figured out a way to jump universes with it. I don't know, but that's the only explanation I can figure out why he ended up in 616 in that interview.
Yeah, that
that's
part
what I was thinking.
Pretty confusing.
Oh,
it was super confusing because it was like the one scene that was in 616.
Yeah.
But then it's still applied to,
the rest of the movie.
000, whatever it was. So yeah, that was kind of strange. I always thought they would come back to 616, or that would play a little bit more of a factor into it, but they never quite got back to it. So that was something I was a little confused about. But I mean, the scene besides that was hilarious.
Yeah,
and
I
they
agree.
played off each other so well.
Happy Hogan very rarely gets to be the straight man.
Yeah.
And boy, was he the straight man in this scene, because Wade is trying his best to convince him. And by the way, this supposedly happens before Endgame.
Yeah, 2018.
Yeah, so it's before Infinity War. This is before Infinity, or maybe in the middle of the blip. Yeah,
It might be post blip, it might be pre blip, but it's right around the time of the blip. It's that 2018 time date.
Yeah,
it was.
It was a genius scene to have, but I was just confused about how it had it. Yeah, it's scary. Bobby doesn't want to be spoiled.
Come on, Bobby.
And again, for anybody who wants to, you can just come back and watch us on YouTube. It'll be a live stream on YouTube. You can go ahead and watch it whenever you want and join in the conversation. Leave comments there, and we'll try to respond to them as best we can as the time goes on. We'll keep jumping in as more and more people get a chance to see this movie. Yeah. I mean, the Happy Hogan scene is great, and it kind of gives us the reason why we're here. It's like Deadpool's not good enough. He feels like he's not good enough, and so that's why he goes back to his world to try to be better, to try to be a better person, so he can be an Avenger. Well, actually, he does the opposite. He goes back to his world and gives up being a superhero because he can't be an Avenger. We have a comment from Ahmad Al-Assad saying, I would love to say that Magneto was not a part of this movie. Spoilers already. But yes, Magneto was indeed not a part of this movie.
I looked
mentioned, but not a part.
He did. Yeah. He did. I loved how Peter he's just still he's so loyal, and he's sitting there and he's saying like I keep your costume in my locker so you're ready to go at any time, and it's just I love the beauty of that he wants his friend to be better, but he's struggling, and it's just I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Peter of it all, it's great that Peter was a throwaway character in the second movie, and I love how he gets to play a pivotal role here. It's just so nice that they throw away, and they're like, no, we're going to make you important later on, which I thought was great. But yes, we all have our loyal friend like Peter. Andre has Mel. I have Astrid. Mark has Bobby, I would imagine. Rich King has all the wonderful people that are in his faction over at LPW and whatnot.
No, Ed, you. Ed, it's me and you. I don't know what you're saying.
No, it's not me and you. It's certainly not me and you.
It will always
you
be
and Bobby.
You, Ed. Always. Me and you to the day we die, Ed. It is always going to be me and you.
You know I'll throw you aside for Astrid every day.
Yeah, I know, but I'm still going to tell everyone that just because it annoys you more and more when I say it. So I'm just going to carry on saying it.
Why don't you guys go ahead and talk about the next part of this movie and the birthday party, and I will be right back.
Sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Andre.
Oh yeah. Okay. The birthday party scene. It was really touching. I'm thinking, oh, everybody's celebrating, and then you just find out like he hasn't seen his friends in a while. They're finally getting together for his birthday. Him and Vanessa are broken up, and I'm like, come on! We spent an entire movie of this man being depressed and sad and all this stuff, and then him going through time to save his lady, and they broke up. I'm like, but it made sense for the struggles he's had. Again, I've dealt with depression in my life, so for people that have gone through that, it's like I deal with my family members it struggles with it to this day, and I'm like, man, that's so poignant in that point of seeing how he's still trying to do everything there with his family. But I really enjoyed the scene of the birthday party itself, just to see, and you can see him like he's trying to put a happy face on, but you can see, this man is just crushed on the inside.
Yeah, I'll be honest, the birthday scene, like a lot of the connections of him with his friends kind of didn't really hit with me as much in this movie. I know that there are essential parts to the plot of the movie and kind of like the why for everything. I just felt like because everything was just up here, this being so far down there was a little bit kind of jarring a little bit. It's almost kind of forgettable and almost throwaway. But it was cool to see Yukio back. That's always a fun callback. And who was it? Shatterstar that was back there too?
I couldn't believe that he saved Shatterstar. I was like, "What? You saved him? No!"
I know somebody from LPW is going to be pretty happy about that one. But yeah, so the scene was meh. It needed to be there, but and it got the important parts of why we're going on this journey down. But it was just kind of another thread.
I was kind of hoping he would have started like later in the movie when he's saying 9. I was hoping he'd start saying 10 people and the invisible dude and Brad Pitt was actually there invisible. That's what I was kind of hoping for, but he kept saying 9 and there's 9 people. And I'm like, God damn it. Mark,
wasn't this the scene where they started naming off names that they can't call cocaine?
Yes.
Wasn't that the bit?
Yeah. That was good.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
And again, teasing those little things was really funny in there, like having those little teases.
And I really, really like that. And I thought this scene was good. The bit that slightly annoyed me was that he was broke up. I was like, after everything that we've watched and we've seen, that's happened. I was a bit like with that part, but I understand why. I understand it. Because you don't want to have someone, as you said, with your anxiety and depression. I've gone through it, and I've done video on my YouTube channel talking about that and what I've been through and what I went through. So, and what my family members went through when I went through it. So I understand of pushing someone away when you're going through a dark place. I get that, and I think that was what they were trying to hint at, or they were trying to get at through that. So that bit got me a bit, and I was like, okay, I can see what you're cooking here, and I like this from it, and I thought that was good. And I just think that the whole way that they got everyone together, that they haven't seen each other for a while, and then it was the amount, and then the one thing we were talking about through the whole film, but the amount of fourth wall breaks that they did during this was utterly incredible. And it wasn't even stuff that they even looked at the camera for. It was stuff that it was just said, and you go, wait, hold on, what? And I thought I think this is one of those scenes that you go, it had to happen, and I think Rich is right with it. It wasn't spectacular. It had to happen. It's not something that you're going to go, that's your favorite part of the film, but it tied into everything that was going to happen. And that's what I appreciated more of it. Looking back on it now, I appreciated that scene a little bit more than when I did. I was like, what's going to happen now? And then the cocaine thing happened, and then I was like, absolutely brilliant. And I was wondering how many. Oh, in my brain, while that scene was going on and when that scene finished, in my brain, I was going, how many more jokes did they actually do that didn't make the cut? That was the only thing that was going through my brain of how many more did they say off, or how many more didn't make the final cut. But yeah, for me, I thought that was it was one of those things that you go, that was it. That's what it needed. It didn't need any more. It maybe needed a little bit less, but it didn't need any more, and it was the perfect way to tie everything else in to it.
Yeah. And then he gets a knock at the door. He answers it. It's the TVA. He thinks they're strippers because he thinks Rupinder hired him a bunch of strippers who have weird police costumes. And they all pull out I can't remember what they're called now, the things that take you out of the universe, the pruning devices. And he's like, oh, come on. This isn't the first time pegging is normal for me, not for Disney. And it's just, and he starts making the comments, and he starts like, I want to look at you in the eyes, and he's talking about one of the dudes with the mask on, and I know that I'm pretty sure that guy is Rob McElhenney, who he owns the football team with, because he plays one of the TVA soldiers here, and you know he's making that comment to one of his closest friends in real life. I laugh so hard at that. Or maybe he's one of the ones from the butt scene. I don't know. But I thought it might be him.
I know one of the teams that the team he owns, Wrexham, that one of the footballers was on set. I think it's Ola Palmer, was on set, and I think he was. We'll get to it near the end. The Welsh Deadpool.
Oh, it's Paul Mullen. Paul Mullen.
Right. So here's the problem I have with that. Right. Paul Mullen is the most Scouse, or Americans, Canadians, from Liverpool, Scouse person you will ever meet in your entire life. He has no inch of Welsh in him. The only inch of Welsh he has in him is the part that he plays for a Welsh side. That is it. And there is no part of Welsh in him. And I was like, oh, what have you done? Why have you done that? Get someone Welsh in there. It would have been brilliant.
He's got a couple. They got a couple Welsh players on their team they could have put in there, but
exactly.
So he gets pulled through the time door, and we meet what we think is a Nick Fury for the show, from the movie, like to help him through things, which he turns out to be a villain. It's Mr. Paradox. Mark, you want to talk a little bit about meeting Mr. Paradox?
When I first saw him, I went, "Oh, he's going to be someone who's going to help Deadpool get to be an Avenger." And I was like, "He's got a British accent." So at the end, I went, "Yeah, he's definitely going to be a baddie." With how strong that English accent was, I was like, "Yeah, this is not going to turn out well for him, innit?" But the thing that made me laugh the most was when he was pointing at the guy that was working on the floor. And when he got his suit on, or when he was doing it, and he was talking about him, and he goes, "What's HR? Who you ringing HR for?" For that point and that, and it was a good setup, and I think it was a good way to do it. There's not the bit that got me with this bit was, well, I think we're going to talk about this in a sec. Is there was the little clips that went through, and there was one with Thor and Deadpool, which he kept referring to. Now, in my brain, that's going to be coming up in a Thor film that's coming, and that's hinting at a Thor film.
No, from everything I read, that's a repurposed scene from Dark World, putting Deadpool in Loki's place when Loki's dying in the Dark Universe. There, yeah.
All right then. That was clear. Yeah. I thought, in my brain, I've gone, "Oh, they're hitting a new Thor film. Yes, please." Without the previous director, just don't do what you did before.
I want Taika back for 5.
No, but no, and I thought it was just nice, fun time that led to what he needed to do to get the proper Wolverine.
Yeah, Rich.
Yeah, no, again, it's just, it's one of those parts that were necessary to introduce characters, introduce the TVA and everything that goes into it. Again, I do like the part with the side character kind of being infatuated with Deadpool, and Deadpool just kind of calling him out about it. And like, yeah, you better be calling your wife, or whatever it might have, whatever the joke was. There's too many to remember all of them, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I looked at it as just another kind of way to get to where we need to go. Introduce Mr. Paradox, and as soon as I saw him, I knew it's like, okay, this is going to be this is going to be one of the bad guys in this movie. I thought he would be a little bit more prominent throughout the movie. I'm pretty glad he wasn't like the big bad, which I'm sure we'll get to in a few minutes, but. I thought it was just solid. Again, being able to see all the clips and just all the Avengers clips playing just shows you that he's now in this universe. They can use that IP. And I wish there was a little bit of that Thor Deadpool interaction at some point. You know, they teased it out, but
the entire movie
you can't deliver on everything. But
yeah, and the thing is, Ryan can still show up in the next Thor movie to do a little cameo there, just to like pop in, be like, and maybe this was him when he was jumping through universes, he found Thor, and maybe you get that little scene just to play it out. Yeah. But they
definitely teased one of the future things with one of the Wolverines he was trying to find.
Oh yeah. So he jumps through the Tim pad, almost landing on dude, but he goes through the Tim pad, and the guy was like, you could see the little bit of look of disappointment on his face when Deadpool.
The Goo Goo Dolls playing, going back to music.
Yeah, and then we go and we get him going through universe, or we get him. I think it comes. He goes through universes. Yeah, it goes back to the Logan we found at the beginning because he went to dig up Logan, and we get the eponymous fight scene where he gets the claws stuck in the butt and in the dick, and just probably one of the most entertaining fight scenes you could ask for.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that rollback, just like in Deadpool 1 and Deadpool 2, that rollback to getting back to the point of the beginning of the movie. And then we get him moving in and starting jumping universes, going after all the different Wolverines once he realizes this Wolverine is not the one. And the amount of different Wolverines, there's Patch is one of them. The one with
I
the
have the list. I have the list.
Do it.
So
the
the first Wolverine we find is the short one, which is the comic accurate, actual height Wolverine, played by a CGI'd version of Hugh Jackman. We then get the Apocalypse version. This is the one with the black with the red X on it. In the post-apocalyptic world with the big, huge chain link fence. And that's an X-Men Apocalypse.
And he just starts stabbing Deadpool.
Yep. We then have Patches, which is the X-Men like you were talking about. He's from an 80s run, but more widely known now. He had a run where he was in Madripoor.
Yeah.
And he looks like James Bond. He wears a suit. He has an eye patch. It's a very interesting look at Wolverine. We then get the Chris Claremont version from the X-Men. I believe it's Uncanny X-Men 251. And again, all of this is thank you to New Rockstars. We love New Rockstars. Their breakdowns are great. Yep. Chris Claremont's run of X-Men, Uncanny X-Men, where Wolverine is literally hung on a cross.
Yeah, that's the only one I didn't know.
Yeah, that's the Claremont X-Men.
Mm.
After that, we get the original brown and black version, which is, I forget what the artist's name is, but it's a specific artist, and it was one of the original versions of Wolverine.
It's from the first appearance.
It's one of the
Wolverine.
first versions. It's one of the first outfits he ever wore.
It's Hulk. Hulk 81. I want to say first appearance of Wolverine where he fights the Hulk. That's what that one is. Yeah.
Yeah. Then we get now this is where people differ. We get the Logan sitting on the bench with the shotgun where he shoots Deadpool. And I thought this was Old Man Logan. In my heart, I thought this was Old Man Logan. New Rockstars is claiming that they don't believe it's Old Man Logan because the atmosphere around the look doesn't fit the same part. But it's an older version of Wolverine from what looks to be like a Pioneer days.
Yeah.
And then we get one of the coolest versions, Henry Cavill, the first real cameo of the movie, the Cavill Wolverine, which would be considered, he was the one who was the front runner for the Wolverine when they were trying to do the first X-Men movie.
Yeah. I when he showed up and then he makes the joke about we're going to treat you so much better or something like that. I was just like,
better than those shit fucks down the street is the exact line.
I loved it, man. Seeing him, and I'm like, I don't think he's going to be Wolverine, but God, would he be a great Wolverine in the future?
I think he's too past his prime, I think, to be Wolverine.
Yeah, but just to get that shot.
He is also a bit too big and stocky to be Wolverine. Then again, Hugh Jackman is too at this point.
I think we need a short. I think we might need a short king for Wolverine. You know?
No, not them. We don't want either of them over here. No short. Oh yeah.
I'm not saying like short kings as in like tag team. I'm just saying a truly short king in life needs.
I just remember the short kings as a wrestling thing, and I wasn't sure if they were friends of Rich or not. So I'm trying to say
I can't figure out which one, but
friends.
Yeah, that was just so fun going through universe to universe and how they kind of went about it. The first like comic accurate one just killed me when I saw him. Step off the bar stool. It's just this tiny little guy. It's like, this is fantastic. Obviously the classic Wolverine look was pretty badass. And then you get the cameo from the Hulk there as well. And then just, with Henry Cavill showing up there, that was a hell of a surprise. Like that might have been one of the most surprising cameos I saw in the movie. And they made a couple of different references to the DCEU with not only like, oh, we'll treat you so much better, but I remember I think they were still in the TVA when Deadpool was kind of going on his rant about being Marvel Jesus. When he actually used like the phrase that I think it was The Rock used in Black Adam, where it's like, oh, I'm going to shift the power dynamic in the MCU or something. That might have been later on, but
you're on the right track. It's right about that period.
But just like the callbacks to these things were just so great.
Unfortunately, I'm not feeling well, so I'm going to be jumping out of here in just a few minutes and letting Andre go ahead and lead the finish of this. Before I go, I just want to give some thoughts on, and I'm going to skip around here and give thoughts on some of the cameos that we saw. My favorite cameo is by far Wesley Snipes coming back as Blade and saying, I am the one and only Blade. Just shitting on the Mahershala Ali movie that still is yet to come. And again, Comic-Con panel in 3 hours. We'll know in 3 hours more details on when to potentially expect the next update on the Blade movie that will probably never happen. But that was a fun one. Seeing Daphne Keane as X-23, and granted, we saw her in the last promo package. But seeing her here was great. Seeing Elektra was really fun. But the Chris Evans of it all. The Chris Evans cameo was fantastic. I was fully believing that it was Captain America.
I knew it. I knew it as soon as he jumped down. I knew it. I'm like, oh, I literally went, I yelled it before. I said it to myself before he yelled it.
All right, guys. Yeah. I thank you all for joining us. Thank you to both of our guests. I appreciate you. Sorry to have to bounce out like this. Have a great stream, Andre, and I'll be watching on the other side.
Yeah. So we find Wolverine, who in the bar drinking and in his sorrows because he's failed his universe, and he's literally end up getting him back to the TVA in a great little fashion, getting him back, and we find out he's the worst of all the Wolverines, which was interesting to find out. So then they both get pruned, and I'm like, oh, this is how we get to the, I can't remember what the Void, and I very much liked the way they did the Void in it. It didn't feel as dark as in the Loki show. It felt like if they're in the desert, it felt brighter. Even when they were in other points, it felt brighter.
Felt almost like the wasteland that they have in the comics to a degree too.
Yeah, very much so. You got anything on that, or you want me to keep going, Mark?
No, keep going. Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, if I start rambling, I'm going to go in all different parts of the scenes. So I'm going to let you just.
I already want to jump ahead. So.
Yeah, and there's many things that's in my brain.
So these two get into a fight. This is where they get into a fight, and Deadpool gets knocked into the 20th Century Fox logo. And just the fact that Fox has been pruned, or 20th Century Fox has been pruned, I just found hilarious. And then we get...
I just want to jump in there about that even just the sign and like kind of how that almost foreshadowed everything that was coming, because like essentially the Void is just 20th Century Fox now. Like everything that was in there is like the old properties, and I just love that they kind of even have that little bit of a meta approach with those franchises that were kind of deemed unwanted have ended up in this wasteland, and just having the big logo in there was such kind of a almost like kicking sand in Fox's face to a degree, but still like kind of foreshadowing what was to come.
Yeah. And then there's a figure standing up on a thing who jumps down as the people in the Void show up, and it's Sabretooth, it's Toad, it's Pyro. multiple others that are with them, and it's revealed it's it's Chris Evans. Everybody's excited. And but I was looking at him, and I'm looking at his arms, and I was looking at the suit. And I'm like, oh, he's wearing it, and he yells, and he's like getting ready to fight, and Deadpool's like, oh, he's like hyping up, like he's like, I'm like, I know what this guy's gonna do, and then he yells, flame on, and you see Deadpool go, what? Like, and he flies. It's Johnny Storm, and I was like, yes.
That was such a good swerve that they did there too, because like with everything anticipated, like you'd imagine that it would have been Captain America, right? Like, oh, he's making his big triumphant return in this wasteland, so it's not really a return. And he's like, Deadpool's teasing it to a degree, being like, oh, he's gonna get everybody, he's gonna get everybody together. Just wait, just watch, wait until what he says, and then just flame on. And it's just, as soon as that happened, you just kind of smack yourself in the head, like, of course it's Johnny Storm. And it was just fun to see that kind of reference back, because who would have thought and you've seen Chris Evans as the Human Torch ever again? Well, unfortunately, he kind of gets wasted by pyro almost instantly. But
oh, Mark, go ahead.
Oh, I was when he jumped down. I went, "Oh my god, they're actually bringing him back." I went, "Oh my god, they're actually going to bring Captain America back." Yeah. I was like, "How is this going to work? They've just gave the shield to someone else, and they're doing a new Captain America film." I was like, "How are they going to bring? But they're going to bring it back. Let's do this. Let's do this." And then he went flame on, and I went, "Oh my god, I completely forgot that he was in Fantastic Four." I was like, I remember I used to watch that film religiously a lot when I was younger. I thought it was amazing, Jessica Alba. But it was a great film, Jessica Alba. And so when he went flame on, I went, "Oh my god, that is utterly, utterly brilliant." Everything that I thought was. And by the way, and I know we're about to get to this, and I do apologize for jumping ahead. The way he dies, oh my god, it was just. If you want to kill off a character and never use that character ever again and have someone else play it or do something different, that's the perfect way of doing it. There's no other perfect death you could do if you want to kill off a character and never think about coming back to play it again. That was it.
100%.
Yeah.
So then we get Wolverine versus the original X-Men, Sabretooth, and he takes his head off. So Sabretooth is dead, but then they get sucked in by the magnet and on the machine, and they get captured. So they end up going to the Ant-Man body, the giant Ant-Man body, with his head opening up to reveal the skull, and the hands like opening like doors and everything. So
can we just talk about the joke that Paul said? Can we please talk about it? Where he goes, "Oh, Paul Rudd's finally aged."
Yeah, that was such a great line.
Oh my god, I was like, "That's perfect. Absolutely brilliant, absolutely brilliant." That was
so good. And we get introduced to the big bad, the other big bad of this movie. It's Cassandra Nova, twin sister of Charles Xavier, who we find out was pruned at a very young age when she was only a few months old. And she is one of the most powerful mutants in comic book history, because she literally puts her hand and she's putting her hand inside of Deadpool's head. And I was so uncomfortable with that. Like it literally made I literally squirmed, because I'm like, oh, just invasion of everything.
Yeah.
And she ends up, and she kills Johnny Storm because Deadpool just starts saying he said all this shit, but we didn't get any scene of that. And he was repeating all this shit he talked about her, and he's like, I didn't say that. And then she just like pulls, and all his skin comes off, and he just disintegrates into bone and meat.
Yep. Perfect.
Brutal.
Perfect death.
I couldn't ever have thought. I'm like, whoever wrote that is a genius. Like, wrote that death.
Yeah, that that's one way to write a character completely out of your universe for sure, as you guys kind of mentioned before. And I like how they kind of play back into that later, much later on in the movie.
Yeah. So they fight. So she says Elias is coming and they're going to be fed to her, but they fight off the goons and they get out of there before Elias can show up and eat them. They get away and they're rolling along, just trying to exist. And we come across a person named another Deadpool. But it's Deadpool with no mask, long hair, and he has none of the scars from the cancer tumors. This is Nice Pool. Yeah, Nice Pool is the name here.
Nice Pool with the ugliest dog in history.
Yeah, absolutely.
The tongue was what bothered me more than any. The dog generally is cute, but it was like cute-ish, but it's the tongue, that long ass tongue out of the mouth. I was just like, ew.
Yeah, disgusting.
But yeah, I like the way they played off of Nice Pool here, and just the little exchanges that he's just like so friendly to these two, and they're both just like kind of really being dicks to him.
Ed loving Nice Pool.
Yeah, I like their interaction later on in the movie, obviously a lot more, because that lends itself to a lot more comedic effect. This was a good little introduction though, and then they get into the not a car ad
with the Honda
Odyssey.
Yeah, Odyssey.
Talk about if
and then we get
paid to have their car in the show or in the movie, because you get car sponsorships that will go into movies. If they paid Deadpool and go, right, we want a car in, and they said, right, you pick it and do what you want with it, and they said, right, we can do whatever we want, they absolutely destroyed that car beyond belief. But it made the product. It made you want to go, I might check that car out because of what they did to it. It was amazing.
Yeah, and again, they take the Honda Odyssey. Deadpool wants to take Dogpool, but Wolverine's like, no, give him back. Like, it's his dog. And so they take off, and then they eventually and we get the flip scene where he's in the car doing the Spider-Man flips. And I was just like, I like the little call out to that. Because again, anything about the history of Spider-Man and Deadpool have some great history together. We're in the comics, just some great arcs with those two. And then they get into their fight, and they just wreck the Odyssey. Blood everywhere, just stabbing each other with the swords, the baby knife. The baby knife.
The freaking baby knife.
And I love that he has adamantium swords and adamantium baby knives and everything now, so he can go toe-to-toe with Wolverine because he can block stuff, because he got the adamantium swords when he was at the TVA with his brand new suit. It just, by the end of it, the van is just destroyed. Like, it's still in one piece, but the inside and the outside are just like beat to living hell.
It was the way he was wrapped up in the seatbelt. It was the way that at the end of it, he was wrapped up in the seatbelt, and then there's just Wolverine just not wrapped up, and he's just laying there, and they're both just gone like asleep. And I just went, that's brilliant. You can the thing that I think, and I do apologize for jumping in, Rich, on you here. I do apologize, and I know you were going to say something. But the one thing I think they did really clever was they didn't want to make Deadpool look stronger than Wolverine. And they never did during the whole film. What they did was Deadpool can just take whatever he needs to do and give it back. But Wolverine was the superior one out of both of them. And that's what I think they did really, really well. Because Marvel have had this thing in the past where they'll bring in someone and they'll try and match strength for strength with characters that they don't need to. One is always going to be stronger than the other. And I thought the way that it was all done, and that scene was just the pick of Wolverine superior, but Deadpool can take it and give it slightly back, but Wolverine is still Wolverine. Rich, I do apologize. I'll let you carry on.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, it was such a unique kind of fight scene because it was so close together. It was just in a minivan, and just all the uniqueness that they could do with it all was really, really cool. I love that action scene. And yeah, like you said, they both kind of fuck each other up. And you cut to the morning where Deadpool's wrapped up like a mummy and Wolverine's just kind of like laying there with multiple former stab wounds as they get driven off. It was great. And then again, the music played such a good factor into that one. With the Grease soundtrack.
It was the Greatest Showman bit as well. There was the Greatest Showman song, and I was like, excellent.
So yeah, that was just so much fun. And it again, one issue with these guys kind of fighting each other is like they both can't really die from each other.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no real like long-term, like nothing's really going to come from it. And you kind of get that. It ends up just being like a big squabble and there's nothing either one can really do about it. But I think they play into it so nicely because like you can throw in the brutal, like, you know, you have Wolverine standing there with like 6 swords out of him in an earlier fight scene. And he's just like, you look ridiculous. So he starts pulling them back out and the little baby knife, you know, like it's just that side of it played so well into it with the healing factors and everything.
Oh,
the best thing about the best thing about the baby knife wasn't that it was a baby knife, was every time he used it, he had to say baby knife. Every time. There was just every time it had to be used, it was just baby knife. And it was just like, we know it's a baby knife, but it was just the way he just kept announcing it before doing it was just brilliant.
It's pro wrestling right there, you know. You got to call out your move before you do it. Otherwise, who's going to know what it's called?
That's right. So a mysterious figure drives them, and they end up back in the compound. And Deadpool wakes up. Logan's drinking already, and we get the big cameo, like 3, I think, pretty huge cameos for this movie.
Awesome.
In Elektra showing up from Daredevil again, from the Fox universe.
And the Elektra movie, which a lot of people
Elektra movie on her own.
About.
I always forget about the Elektra movie. I'm sorry.
I don't think I even watched it.
I don't know either. Did you ever see the Elektra movie, Mark?
Nope. Didn't know there was one.
Yeah, I saw Daredevil, but
yeah, definitely saw Daredevil.
I don't remember seeing Elektra. And then we get Blade, Wesley Snipes returning, and he's like, look, and it's like he looks older. He's got the white and the beard, and then like I think he looked so good, man, coming into this.
The only thing, again, this is kind of the fitness side of me coming out. The only thing I realize about him is like his neck is very thin now. But again, it was 20 years after the fact that he's been playing Blade. So it's like the man's probably close to, if not 60. So yes, there's always going to be a little that degeneration, but I was just like, man, he's skinny. And that's probably not what it was at all.
Ed in the chat saying it's not so bad. It's not good either, referring to the Elektra movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't need to watch it then.
But let's talk about the biggest cameo in this one, the thing that never actually got to be until now, and that was Channing Tatum showing up as fucking Gambit with probably the worst accent in a movie ever.
That was so done on purpose.
Oh, absolutely. It had to have been.
So done on purpose. Because if you've ever seen a Channing Tatum movie where he has to do a different voice than his own, it is... Oh my God, it's bad. When he was in the Kingsman and Kingsman 2, and he tried to do the cowboy accent from it, that was something else. That was something else. But when he come out and he was doing, and it was the point of when Deadpool goes, "Who is your dialect coach?"
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's brilliant. I didn't know if this was meant to be on purpose or not. And now thinking about it, I was like, this is so meant to be on purpose with Channing Tatum doing that, and I loved it.
And yeah, he was all over the place. And you got to imagine that was probably one of the main reasons that movie didn't actually get made, is because he can't do the accent. I think it's very few people that can do like a good Cajun accent. It's
like legit.
It's not easy.
Whoever did Gambit in X-Men 97, they would have hired that guy to like dub over everything Channing Tatum said in the movie. That would work.
Yeah, but it would be so like it'd be so jarring. So
Oh yeah, for sure.
that was one of the more fun cameos in my opinion, and the fact that they put them in the like absolutely ridiculous looking comic book accurate outfit was just even better because like
it's like up to here.
Yeah, it's up to here and then up and around, and it's like again like it kind of almost pokes fun at people that are the big fans and always clamoring for like comic book accuracy, to show them like this is how ridiculous it can look if you just go with comic book accurate. This is why sometimes things need to be changed, and it's okay.
Yeah, like Hawkeye's outfit I never would have accepted, but the Hawkeye outfit you get in like Ultron and his outfits in the Hawkeye series,
Totally.
I think are great. Like they're so well done. Again, they're the matte, and I know Hawkeye series is the matte fraction version, which I think was one of the best versions of his costume. But like, and then we get the reveal that the person that drove them there was X-23, and they're talking about wanting to fight Cassandra Nova, and they're saying, "Well, we have another one of us because they're the others." And then they have another one, Johnny Storm, and then like, and they're just both just trying to avoid talking about Johnny, and it's just like, oh, it was so good. And they say, oh yeah, she killed him. It was just
even just the reveal of that. It's like, oh yeah, no, never met a Johnny Storm. I don't know what you're talking about. And then like afterwards, it's like, yeah, he sounds like he was a good guy. It's like, wait, was? It's like, oh yeah, he's dead. It was just like the roundabout way that they went to revealing, like, oh yeah, it turns out he's done. It was great.
Yeah,
I was happy that I was happy she was in the film.
Yeah,
like really happy that they did it. But also gave me flashbacks to that movie that made me cry like a baby from the Logan film, and I was like, no, I'm happy she's back. My God, I feel old by how old the older that she's got now, how long it's been. And I was like, Jesus Christ. But then I was like, no, you're giving me flashbacks. I don't want to think about that movie because it nearly made me never want to watch an X-Men film ever again because of it. Because I was so emotionally wrecked after that film.
It broke my heart, man. It broke my heart.
Well, and it sounds like her reveal was a little bit in the trailers as well, which I was pretty happy I didn't watch any of the trailers going into this. So it sounded like the very first one when it first came out. I've gotten out of the habit of trying to spoil the movie for myself completely before I go watch it. So it's nice to see like the surprises on there and how they brought her back too.
Oh, heck yeah. So they decide they're saying, let's go fight, but Logan doesn't want to. So X-23, her little speech with Logan was actually really nice because she's saying, well, he's saying, I'm not the right person. And she said, he wasn't either, but he did it. And and that kind of like, it's like almost inspiring. But then shows them driving. Logan ain't with them. They end up back at Cassandra's compound. They all step out, all looking badass, all ready to fight. And then Logan gets out of the back hatch open, and Logan gets out of the back hatch, and I'm just like, he's sleeping in the back the entire way. Nice.
They had a couple moments with Wolverine, and that kind of made him look very badass in a sense. So like this was one of those moments where it's just like, oh, they're all lined up, and then here's big old Wolverine with his giant bicep vein just bulging out like it's its own character or something.
Yeah.
But just like the suit that he's wearing, like we haven't really talked about the Wolverine suit, but it looked so good in the movie. And at one point, like, again, I didn't realize it. I had somebody point it out to me where the sleeves just ended up getting cut off. So it just turns into like a bodysuit in a way. And it just looks so good on Hugh Jackman in this movie.
Yeah, it really
very much so.
They did a great job with his stuff. And he's saying she was in the trailer that was released about a week before. So yeah. So they get there, and we get this epic fight scene. The crew of mutants versus the others and Deadpool and Wolverine. Just great fight. Like everybody's just doing so. What? Nobody's in the bathroom, Lauren?
No, she's talking about me, I think.
Yeah,
I
because it's
think
the
she's saying
upshot and what's in
Yeah.
your background. I think, yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not. I'm literally in my living room. This is funny because my computer has decided to die. So it's going to be. By the way, I am recording videos straight after this with
luck.
Lauren and with Bobby. So this is the view you guys are going to be seeing for those videos. So enjoy, ladies and gentlemen.
But yeah, we get a like that fight scene was badass as hell, right?
Wild.
Like, yeah, just seeing everybody using their powers. Gambit using the staff, and he's letting the staff up, like literally, like we saw in X-Men 97. I was like, yes, let's go.
Well, when he stabs the guy and sets him off, like that was such a cool little scene, and like seeing Blade do his thing again was awesome. I was pumped to see guys like the Juggernaut from X-Men Last Stand back, Azazel back from
but that's not the original Juggernaut, though, was it? Because if I remember, Vinnie Jones was the original one, wasn't it?
Vinnie Jones was X3, but
it was the same
costume
suit. Yeah.
I was like, when I saw Juggernaut, I was like, oh my god, Vinnie Jones, former footballer, the legend I know that used to literally kick people's heads off. Or as you call it, soccer, over there. And I was like, oh my god. And then there's some guy, and I went, oh, not Vinnie Jones.
Which is too bad, because they could have used another On the Juggernaut bitch in this movie, and I think it probably would have played pretty well.
Yeah, I was slightly disappointed it wasn't Vinnie Jones, but I love X-23 because, like, they get up, like, Deadpool and Wolverine get into meet up with Cassandra. They fight her. She puts Deadpool down. She does that creepy ass going into the head thing on Wolverine.
I loved it.
And it feels like they're connecting inside his brain. It shows that scene with all those lines of like giant pillars that we saw in the trailer, and they're talking. And on the outside, the fight is still going on. X-23 takes down Juggernaut by going to his like Achilles
ankles, right through his ankles. She just cuts his legs off from the ankle down, which was wild.
Yeah, and she gets the helmet. She starts climbing. She's about to be. She gets to the top. She gets pulled back, so she hucks the backpack in, and Deadpool catches it. And then we go back to the mine. They're talking, and then it's actually a really poignant scene about how she says, "I can help you. I can heal you. I can make you feel better," which is like she's insanely evil, but she can help one of the most troubled members of X-Men, if you think about it, with all the problems he has. I was like, I was like, that's pretty cool. But then he's just like, "We've got you," and they get the Juggernaut helmet on her. I was just like, and just you see her in the mine, her all the blue veins starting in her head and everything, and then she gets. My problem with that is, didn't she still have her hand in his head?
No, she took it out, didn't she?
No, but I was saying, if her powers got muted while her hand's in his head, wouldn't her hand be stuck in his head?
I thought she got knocked back, like as he dove on to put her, like he wrapped her up to grab her and then put it on. So there might have created a little bit of separation there. But
I'm going to go with your thing that if they put that with it in, that hand is stuck in your head.
And the thing is, he can live through it. If that would happen.
Well, even in that scene, they also revealed like what happened with him, right? Where it's like, because I was thinking it was kind of the old man Logan kind of idea where, you know, he went a little crazy, killed everybody. But it was more of like he pissed off humanity to a certain point where humanity went and took out the X-Men, and it was his fault. And, you know, finally giving this worst Wolverine kind of the backstory of why he's considered the worst, essentially. Which was really good. And like you said, like with Cassandra Nova, while she's like this evil person, there's also those hints of like Charles Xavier moments where she is trying to help, and she's using her mental powers to try to like help Wolverine. even if it's for her own benefit. But like,
Mm.
you get that kind of hint of a little bit of Xavier on that, so that was kind of cool too.
And it was also cool as well to actually hear the backstory, because I think the
Mhm.
joke that was made earlier on was when Deadpool kept asking him what actually happened, and he kept saying, "I'm not talking about it," and he goes, "Oh, we're going to have to wait to the third act then
Yeah,
to find
yeah,
out
the
what
third
went
act,
on."
the third act
The right
flashback
act
or whatever.
That's it. And then they actually did like the flashback, and I went, "Okay, cool." And then they actually did it. But then I kept sitting there thinking about those pillars, and like I've seen the pillars before, but I don't know why. I've seen it before, but also at the same time, they must mean something. But I don't know what they meant with the pillars. Looking at it, and I was like, that's either going to be something that someone that is going to do a massive deep dive in will know, or that's something that's going to happen in the future. Because those pillars were there for a reason, and I just could not work out what
I
they
think
were for and what they were.
I think those are the graves of each of the X-Men,
Could be
Could be,
like
yeah.
like
little
a
mausoleum,
monument
like
erected to them, kind of deal.
yeah,
Right.
that kind of
Okay.
idea.
Yeah, at least the monument erected, because this is all in his mind. So it's a monument
Yeah.
erected for them in his
Yeah.
mind. It's
Each
it's
one,
each of the,
you know,
yeah,
so
each
he can,
represents like
Right.
one of the,
and that's
one
where
of
all
his,
the voices are coming from too, that are kind of haunting him, right?
yeah,
Do you know what?
yeah.
I'm going with that because I like it. So I'm sticking with that, and that's what we're going to go for.
Ed's
We're
not
going to
even
go
here,
there.
and he's saying the same
No.
thing. So,
So
but
we're
like,
going with that. That's perfect then.
but before we move off for Emma Corrin, who played Cassandra Nova, I think she did such a good job
Yeah,
in being able to be so sinister and evil, while also having that weird
Yeah.
compassion to her in that sense.
Like you felt sorry for her because of it, and then you go, "Oh, Charles Xavier must have done something because he's done things before that you
Mhm.
question." But then you think about it, go, "No, she's just." And then I do apologize for my language, but this is Deadpool. She's just a twat. So it was one of those things where you go, "Oh, you feel sorry," and then like 2 seconds later, "No, why am I feeling sorry for this? For her? She's pissing me off now." And then the hand stuff and the face and
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think in a movie like this too, with the villain, it can be very easy to have a very forgettable person in that role because you
yeah,
have the team up of two beloved characters at this point. And I think like again, we'll have to give this time and rewatchings and all of this stuff. But like initially, it feels like you're not going to really forget about Cassandra Nova. It's going to be one of those like villains that has enough depth where you're going to remember them as part of the as an important part of the movie, and not just
Mhm.
like, hey, they're there for
Yeah.
the plot kind of idea. Because while it does, like initially, it kind of feels almost like she's just going to be this throwaway character or whatever. We get the rest of the movie after this point as well, where she gets out of the void, and again, we'll go into that in a second. But
Yeah.
um,
So
we
I
need
thought
to
she
go
was
into
great.
that.
Yeah,
With
so
the greatest
Pyro
music that's ever happened.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Pyro
In a movie.
shoots her. He shoots her, and so they have to take the helmet off her so she can save herself. Welcome to the show, RL. Thank you for joining us here. I'm not sure what you mean by that, but so they have to take it out, and she takes him down. We think she kills him essentially. She puts him down, and then she has a sling ring from a wizard who happened to be jumping through universes, or one of them got pruned, and she opens the portal. They do the epic jump. Deadpool with the arms back, knees bent jump. I was like, yes.
Can we just talk about the stance that Hugh Jackman did before the fights? That he did the proper Wolverine stance before, all of that. Now, and I do apologize. This is Deadpool review. I'm about to get graphic, so I do apologize. But that got me hard. Seeing that and seeing the way that he stood there, and then we'll get to it a little bit later. But Hugh Jackman got me a lot harder later on in this. But just the stance and the way they both played what they did. Mwah.
Yeah, the stats, and I like the again with the action part with him. It seemed a lot more animalistic this time around,
Yeah.
which was awesome to see because like before it was very much like standing very upright and coming at you directly with the claws, whereas this time it's like, he's moving a lot more like a predator. He's down low, he'll kind of run off his hands and legs. It was very, very awesome that way.
I'm going to ask you both a question quickly before we move on, because I know both of you are really X-Men. I haven't really watched a lot of it. I've watched the main films, but I need to start watching the others because that's something I want to get into. But I don't know whether it was just me because I haven't seen much of the other stuff. But this Wolverine felt more violent, or felt more like, when I watched the others, it was very much the pissed up Wolverine who could kill people but just didn't really care. This one felt like he wanted to do it. He needed to do it. And it was very much more violent in the way I don't know whether I haven't seen much else, but this is the most violent thing that I felt like Wolverine that has done that I've seen before.
I personally would agree with that. I think this has been the most like feral version of Wolverine that we've seen on the big screen. Again, there's moments where it's like you see a little bit more of that like Wolverine rage that comes out very much in like Logan might be the closest to it, where he does get very primal, especially when Professor X dies. Spoilers if you haven't watched that, but if you haven't watched that, what are you doing watching this? I haven't rewatched a lot of the Wolverine, so there might be moments in that one where he's a little bit more, but to my knowledge, this is like the most feral version that we've seen.
Yeah. I look at this guy as more what they originally envisioned Wolverine as. Like in the early days of the comics, he is a lot more wild and violent of a character, and they evolved the character to be a little, still very wild and violent, a lot less of that. Like he's still becoming more of a mature character throughout the years in the comics. And I feel like this is the original kind of version of Wolverine where he's just crazy. And again, as Ed said, he's been through so much pain than any other Wolverine has ever existed. So he's going to be more feral and because he doesn't have a heart like other Wolverines have come to have.
I think this being an R-rated version as well probably allows him to be a little bit more like that, because you can't necessarily get away with that. I mean, you saw that in, I think it's X-Men Apocalypse, where he's the kind of cyborg version, or he has the big like headpiece and he's a lot more feral. But you don't see any of it, right? You see like, oh, there's guards laying down everywhere and it's just him half naked, grunting and panting really hard. Whereas this time you actually get to see the action.
I do hope that this means that this Wolverine is the one we're going to be seeing with Deadpool going into with Avengers moving forward, going into that universe, doing more stuff. I hope that he stays to do it. Just
remember, till he's 80.
No, 90.
90. Sorry. 90. I blew it.
Till you're 90.
That was a great recurring joke. Just always looking over. Till you're 90.
And the biggest point of the joke is when they fall onto the car that the family that he was trying to sell a car to earlier in the movie. They break it. Peter's excited because Deadpool's back. And he said, and this is where he does it, until you're 90 again, right into his ear. When we got on the meeting. 35 more years, that's saying, because he's 55 now, so he's got 35 more years.
Let's go.
And you know what? He will still probably look the same, Hugh Jackman, at 90 than he does now. That man does not. That's the issue.
Takes good care of himself.
We'll eventually get it. We'll probably get an Old Man Logan. That Old Man Logan's going to be ripped as hell. So we end up back in Deadpool's universe. They go to destroy the Time Ripper, but Cassandra Nova shows up and she literally does the head thingy to Mr. Paradox, which I was just like, again. And she gets him to start up the Time Ripper. Well, she leaves Deadpool and Wolverine to face off against the Deadpool Corps of all the prune Deadpools. And first we get Dogpool showing up and he's so excited. And then Nice Pool shows up and he uses him as a human shield. When he's using him as a human shield, I'm like, wow. And he's like, he uses them as a run to the side and then they duck in. He's like, how long does it take you to use it for your regeneration to start? And he's like, regeneration? And he's just like, and Wolverine's just like, how do you know? It's like, how do I know he doesn't have regeneration, right? Because it's just like it's one of their powers, right? But it makes sense because he's still handsome. He's still like he doesn't have the like makes sense. He doesn't have his powers are never unlocked. He's just nice pool.
Mhm.
Well, and
But
then he brings them out again. He's like, okay,
that
there's
was so good.
there's probably a medical kit in that that hot dog stand. You know, all hot dog stands have medical kits in them. So he goes out there and he just stands there with them until his head gets blown off.
And then Wolverine.
What does he say to Wolverine? He's like, "Oh, he died of like honor or something," and then he's like, "No, he died because by murder."
And then, like, when Wolverine just walks across while he's holding Dogpool, and everybody's just like, "We can't shoot Dogpool." And then
I guess
walks.
Yeah, this is where all the Deadpool variants start coming in. Hey, did you guys catch like a few of the?
I've got a list here. So
the funniest bit was they were mourning his death, but he goes, "Look, I've got these guns now, the gold-plated guns," and he goes, "I finally got them." And then he just went, "Okay," and then just chucked them away. I was like, "Oh, you wanted those, and that's why you did it." That was brilliant.
So
the dog and the guns.
So we have Dogpool, played by dog actor named Peggy, as Mary Poppins, aka Dogpool. You have Blake Lively playing Lady Deadpool here. One? Yeah, I think that was the right. But we never got Dazzler. That's the other thing.
Do you know what? I was slightly hoping that we would see Lady Pool's face.
Yeah, me too.
Right. But I was also hoping, this is going to sound really weird, live in my fantasy just for a sec, that it was going to be Taylor Swift's face, but Blake Lively's voice, just to fuck with everyone's brain.
No, it should have been the mask pulled off, and it's a Taylor Swift picture stapled to Lady Pool's face. That would have been a great pull.
That would have been brilliant. Yeah, and that would have been brilliant.
So then we got idea. Get them on the road stuff.
We've got Kid Pool and Baby Pool, played by Blake and Ryan's kids. You have Nathan Fillion voicing Head Pool, which I was like,
okay. I was wondering what Nathan Fillion was.
That was the one flying around. You have Matthew McConaughey as Cowboy Pool.
Yeah, got that one too.
Wrexham AFC player Paul Mullen, who's English, as Welsh Pool, which I know Mark is not happy about.
Just made no sense. It made no sense.
Ryan Reynolds stunt double Alex Krishkovich or something crazy I can't say, as Canada Pool. And then there was Watari, the Fool, also known as the Fool. Deadpool 2099, which is the one with the robot mask.
Yeah.
Golden Age Deadpool, Zen Pool, Pirate Pool, and multiple other and then Welsh Night Pool. That was the one with the more night looking stuff on. But yeah, I
gotta say, just you saying Canadian Pool or Canada Pool, the amount of Canadian jokes in this for Wolverine's background and then also Ryan Reynolds' obvious heritage was just fantastic.
Yeah, I love
for us Canadians.
And they're in the Canadian bar when he takes them.
Yeah.
But you know what? You're talking of that. When Henry Cavill turned up, and he was the Cavill Wolverine, I was sitting there going, "Please let this be that there's going to be a Captain Britain. This is his way of coming in and making a Captain Britain. For the love of God, this country needs something like that. Canada have Deadpool. America have everything. We have James Bond that doesn't be seen, and we need something in the MCU. So just give us Captain Britain, please, for the love of God."
You guys have Haley Atwell.
No,
Captain Britain.
If she did better in the One Division, yes, but she didn't, so no.
But yeah, this scene just led into probably the scene of the movie for me.
So we get the epic fight. Everybody's it's Wolverine and Deadpool killing all the Deadpool variants with Like a Prayer. And this is where Like a Prayer started in the movie.
Yeah.
And it's just this great fight scene. Yeah. They get to the end, they come through the bus, Deadpool falls, he doesn't get his cool superhero landing, and he even calls it out. And then all the Deadpools just start getting back up and healing.
before they get back up, there's a little baby pool sitting there, and
I
he's
just
just like,
laughed.
what are you laughing about, motherfucker? And he's just staring at this little baby. And then they all come up like
Oh,
like
Walking Dead.
Terminators rebuilding kind
Yeah.
of deal. Like,
can we just quickly talk about the camera work that they did for the fight scene?
Oh,
It felt like a retro game that you
Side
would play
scroller.
when the sides come in and you have to be quicker because if you go behind
Yeah.
it, you die.
Yep.
That type of thing. It felt like you have to go through it all to get to the next level to do it. And I was like, oh my God, this just feels like a retro game. And it's just brilliant. Because
Yeah,
didn't Ryan Reynolds do a retro game? Was it No, not Pixels.
Free Guy.
Free Guy.
That's it. That's the one where it was that type of thing. Where it was with the hint, and Chris Evans was in it, wasn't he? When they did a Captain America bit.
When he pulled out the shield and he blocked it.
Yeah, that type of thing. So and I quite like that, and I really enjoyed that the camera work of how they did that.
Yeah.
Totally
So
agree.
and then everybody's gonna gang up and fight them again, but we get a Deadpool showing up on a bike, and it's the reveal of Peter Pool. We got Peter Pool, ladies and gentlemen.
I just love how all of them stopped and like acknowledged Peter.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everyone loves Peter.
Everyone loves Peter.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. And it just, again, it kind of like Deadpool 2 probably wasn't the strongest movie. Again, it might fall into that kind of just they made it to make it kind of idea. But the fact that Peter came out of that into this role made it all worth it.
So as Peter's distracting all the Deadpools, they go down. They find out they have to make a connection of the matter and the antimatter.
The MacGuffins.
The MacGuffins of the movie that Cassandra Nova is now taking control of, and you see it, everything spaghettiing. So she's now destroying a universe with the.
I call this part the Hugh Jackman part because this is the part that gave me the happiest of endings. Nearly, I tell you.
This might have been one of the funniest moments in the actual movie. So.
Oh God, yes. So they go down underneath to go to the place, and Deadpool's like, "Hey, I'll let you do this, Wolverine." He goes to go in, and he knocks him out, and he takes his place. So Deadpool breaks it open, starts pulling on one of the matters, whether it's antimatter or regular matter. He's reaching for the others, and it's the universe is almost destroyed, and he can't reach it. Then all of a sudden, you just see the hand come out. It's Wolverine's glove, and he just shoves the claws into the other one, and they connect. And Mark, do you want to describe this? What happens with Wolverine here?
My erection cannot handle what just happened. It was the point of he's doing it, they're going for it, and then because of the matters going into him, it's sort of shredding but it's only shredding one person's clothing. Deadpool did not have anything shredded whatsoever, and it was the point of they're really trying not to die, and all of a sudden you just see a shot of the abs, and then just Deadpool looking back like this and looking at it and going, and then going back to it to try and save it and do it. Oh my God, Hugh Jackman, you sexy fuck. Oh my God,
I just love how, like, as it happens, it doesn't just shred, it just pops right off. It just explodes, and they're back to, I think, Like a Prayer or something on that one.
Yeah.
Like a Prayer thing again, yeah.
Well, and they kind of teased it out through the movie, right? Where it's like, oh, well, he's not showing his abs anymore because he's old and lazy.
He's old and he's out of shape.
And you're going through the entire movie, and it's just like, oh, there's not the gratuitous like ab scene with either guy. Like both of them are in great shape, but it's like, that's kind of straight. And then all of a sudden, boom, there it is, and it's just like, even more ripped than he was last time. So it was just,
you were saying about the jokes of him being old, but it was the jokes about him being divorced in real life as well.
That's
came in as well a few times, and I was like, oh. Beautiful.
Yeah, and
I would marry Hugh Jackman.
Even in that scene, it was crazy to see the shift between like it was a little bit more emotional because you play into the factor of like self-sacrifice, and that always kind of gets me at least a little teary-eyed.
Yeah.
And then Deadpool switches the frame on him. I thought that was like, hey, this is how they write off Logan or write off Wolverine once and for all. And then I was thinking, hey, this is probably how they write off both of them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, because Paradox did say whoever goes and does it will be destroyed.
yeah.
Yeah.
But the fact they can take it from like this emotional high to like laugh out loud moment
Yep.
to like
Yeah.
to again another emotional moment when it seems like they're both gone.
Yeah. So,
So
they,
what was it that he said when he come back? Because they were talking about that when the lady comes in and they talk about they both must have died doing it,
Well-
and then Deadpool
Oh,
says
yeah,
it, and I can't remember. Was it "What's up, motherfucker" or something like that?
yeah, it's something of "What's up, motherfucker?" And he's like, you should. Why aren't you dead? And because they destroy the thing because it
Yeah.
restores the universe. Cassandra Nova is destroyed in the explosion of what she's holding on to, and then Paradox just like he's dealing with B-15. Hunter B-15, who's in charge of the TVA now, and he's just like talking about his friends. I'm so sorry they're gone.
Yeah,
And
I was part of this group.
They were my they were my friends, and I miss
We
them
were
so
like
much.
the
And then
Avengers.
he just comes in like, what motherfucker? He's like, it would have destroyed one person, but we were just two of us, and we survived. And it was just, and then the dude that was like all about Deadpool early on in the movie, he's just like staring at Logan now because he's just shirtless.
And then he gives him the helmet.
He gives him his
We
helmet.
forgot to
But
mention, just like as he puts on the helmet too before the scene, gets down into the position again. That was another chill moment, like straight out of there.
Yeah, when he pulled that mask over, I almost cried. I'm like, oh my god, it's the cowl.
Oh, cool.
Oh.
Then there was a comment about Batman in there or something too
Yep.
that got me laughing pretty good. I forgot what it was now, but
I can't remember the Batman joke, but there was a Batman joke to do with the cowl. And they get Paradox gets arrested by the TVA, and then Deadpool asks for his friends, the others, to be restored to their timelines. But how are they going to restore the entire timeline? So does this mean the Fox universe is back? Because he has them restored.
Well, for that, they didn't say directly like yes. They said like, oh, we'll see what we can do about that. So that might tease into like a recasting type situation, but or if they decide to revisit those characters, you know.
Yeah,
you can do like a spin-off of a different universe or do something else
because the multiverse lends itself to this type of movie where it's like now these people live in a separate society than what we see in the Avengers movies, right? So.
And we still have Secret Wars coming, which is multiple universe coming in upon itself. Allegedly. Well, again, that movie is still on the table. It's the one. It's Avengers 5 that they do not know that because that was supposed to be Kang Dynasty. That's the one that we don't know. Secret Wars was the second one. So that one's
because
still
there was something that would come out the other day that is Avengers versus X-Men.
That's the rumor that they're going to be
might be announced. Do you think that's going to be the one that's going to happen instead of Avengers Kang Dynasty? Because that
would replace Dynasty, yeah.
Because is he still employed with Disney? The guy that was Kang? Because I don't think
Jonathan Major. I think Jonathan Majors was let go from his contract there.
They got rid of him as soon as he was convicted. They booted him out the door. They kind of like put everything for him on pause, and that whole trial was happening during Loki season 2, which really didn't help. Yeah. So that's out. So again, you can see these people return. Like you can see Elektra, you can see Wesley Snipes' Blade, you can see Gambit all return for Secret Wars, being that they have been established now and they're more recent too, to give you that other universe feel. So yeah, they get arrested, so they get retained, and we get that great scene where Logan ends up putting the hoodie on and everything, and they go out. They're sitting on the bench, and they're just talking.
Shawarma.
He refers to that the Avengers invented shawarma. Just like what?
What a callback!
Oh, it was so good. And they're just he convinces Logan, because Logan's going to leave and go do his own thing, but he convinces him to stay, and we get another party back at the loft with a very much happier Deadpool. I love the little, like, everybody's together, and it reveals that X-23 is there, so she's been brought to Deadpool's universe, because, again, she has a relationship with Logan, and Logan gets his lady back again. So 3 movies in a row, he's gotten his lady back at the end of the movie. She puts his hand.
No, keep it like that. Keep it.
Yeah.
Stop changing it.
Yeah. Ugh, I don't want them to break up again. I can't handle that.
No. Nope.
And then we get,
man.
and then there was no mid-credit scene for this movie.
No.
We got great.
Kind of.
We got the great shots throughout the credits of all the like outtakes and things from the sets, from all the X-Men and Fantastic Four, because it showed Chris Evans as Johnny Storm, and it showed some of the Deadpool outtakes. I really like that they showed all this to kind of as a wrap up to that world.
Yeah, it was kind of a homage to the 20th Century Fox kind of universe that they had, even if it wasn't like a combined universe. But it was cool to see like the behind the scenes of the X-Men, like back when Wolverine, like X-Men 1 with Wolverine as like a Australian, which is so strange to me to wrap my head around the fact that Hugh Jackman is Australian, because he does such a good job with speaking like a American or Canadian. That, and then like even seeing clips from like the Fan 4 stick was kind of interesting, because I thought they just try to shovel that away into the mind, to the pits of people's memories. But it was cool to see kind of that celebration of what they were able to do, because without those movies we would never have the MCU or anything along those lines. So it's kind of cool to see 20 years come to the end. Yeah, this comment nailed it too.
Oh yeah. It's some of the people, how they could speak so well with the accents, like the amount of English actors that I didn't realize were English until I hear them in a random interview, like 4 seasons into watching their show, and I'm like, "What? You're English?"
Do you know the one that surprised me the most? The one that surprised Millie Bobby Brown.
Really?
Did not know she was English until I saw her in an interview, and then she went full English. And I don't mean like the old pretend to be English, but the way that she talks in interviews over here. And there's that other one, the one from Killing Eve. The lady that the main one in that, she's from Liverpool. And when she comes to England and does English press, she goes full Scouse for it. Wow. And when she goes to America, she tones her English accent down a lot.
I'm amazed by how much of a one-way street that is, because it seems like Australian, New Zealand, and British actors can do like the American Canadian accent extremely well. But if an American Canadian tries to do anything resembling a British or Australian accent, it comes off as probably the worst cheesy
you say that, but
thing that you've ever seen.
Robert Downey Jr. did an excellent job at Sherlock Holmes.
He's one of the exceptions. He's an exception.
Yeah, that's an exception. Yeah.
Johnny Depp as well can do a really, really good English accent as well.
True.
I think Captain Jack Sparrow's English, if I'm right, of the way that he portrayed. I don't think he's that.
Oh yeah, I think so.
So
maybe.
I would consider that man. He was born drunk, and that's he's just drunk.
Yes.
But yeah, I thought that little those clips mid credits was really nice, and then the end scene, like again, the end scenes are always what they are, but this one was just fantastic.
Well, yeah. So post credits, we go back to the TVA with Deadpool standing there, and he's showing us a video of them when they were captured and being transported to Cassandra Nova, and he starts talking, Storm starts talking about Cassandra Nova, and he's like, and more, and he just everything that Deadpool said about her to him. about that. He said it. He had proof, and it was perfection.
Yeah, and just the fact that Chris Evans said all of that was fantastic, especially after playing Captain America for so long. The fact that Deadpool, like all throughout the movie, was saying like, it wasn't my fault. He said it, and then even at the end when Chris Evans is like, and you can quote me on that, and just the subtle little okay.
And he did okay. And it's great because if you think back to we just reviewed it a few weeks ago. We did reviewed Age of Ultron, and in that point is where he calls out the bad language, and this is
language.
Chris Evans, yes, as Johnny Storm, but just going and just slandering it's so perfect. It's like a wraparound for Chris Evans from that movie.
Brilliant, absolutely.
Yeah,
and it was also a little dig at Marvel for like the end scene. It was like very much of like a little jab at them. It was like, you always say things to last. We're just going to put the funniest thing that means nothing for the future, just to prove Deadpool needed to prove a point that he wasn't lying, and that was the only thing for it.
Yeah, and I'm almost happy because everybody's like, it's gonna be. There was so many rumors that it's gonna be the Spider-Man 4 teaser. For whatever comes next from there. But I'm happy it wasn't. I'm happy it was just a little tag up for the movie. I don't need a tease. Just wait. Give me the next trailer whenever you're ready to drop me into the next movie.
Just put the movie out. Don't worry about trailers. Like, tell me what it is, and I'll go watch it.
I don't need the post-credit stinger to get me amped up for Spider-Man when Deadpool just did everything it did.
Killed it.
So I think they did a really good job with that.
Yeah, I gotta get running here, so I just want to give a little bit of a final thought on this.
Yes, no problem.
But I thought, like, again, just as like for somebody that's like, I was watching Blade when it first came out, and the X-Men was my favorite movie for a long time, and like I was in that generation of 20th Century Fox movies. This felt like such a good kind of fan service movie for this, where I'm excited to kind of go back and rewatch now that all the surprises are kind of out of the way, and see how this is as like an actual movie, and see if it kind of holds up to that level. Because one thing with like Spider-Man No Way Home, for example, like once the initial kind of like surprise of everything wore off, it's like, okay, there's some flaws in this movie. So I'm excited to go back and kind of watch this again, but I think this one will hold up a little bit more, just because it does have the comedic beats that it does. And there's so much of it that you end up forgetting by the end of the movie that like, you're going to be able to watch this back and be like, oh, I totally forgot about that part. Or even like little things that they mention early on that might come back around later on. So I found like a lot of those that I did notice. So I'm excited to watch that again and see the things that I didn't. And like, as a diehard Wolverine fan, it was pretty badass to see the costume on screen with the Wolverine that you get to grow up with.
And before we let you go there, Rich, give everybody where they can find you. I use this for my shows, so
no worries. So people can find me on basically all of social media. If you're looking for the wrestling aspect of it, it's at RK_wrestling. Super simple on that. And then for all the fitness side of things, if you're looking for more advice or tips on that, it's at RKathletics1 on most social media sites, or rkathletics.ca, as you can see scrolling down the screen there. Try to give people as much free advice and tips as they can, to live a healthier life and live life to the fullest. So got to put the money where the mouth is on that side of things. But no, I appreciate you guys having me on. I love being able to talk about this. I'm probably going to be talking about this religiously for the next 2 weeks, and probably seeing it again in theaters. So appreciate it. And Mark, it was great to chat with you.
Lovely to meet you, mate.
Here. And I'm sure there will be many more interactions on the old X, or Twitter, as I like to call it still.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Thank you for joining us, Rich.
Right. Always a pleasure, Andre. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, I'll see you soon. So, yeah, but just give me your overall thoughts after we've talked through it. Like, just how you feeling after seeing this, having chatted about it for the last couple hours. How you feel about Deadpool and Wolverine?
I think this is the greatest Marvel film since Endgame, and I think this will be one of the greatest, highest grossing films that's happened in a long time. I think this will be up there with grossing more than Barbie and Oppenheimer. Might be up there with them. But me personally, it was just it's. I love Deadpool anyway. The fourth wall breaks, the jokes, the laughter, all of those type of things. But this just felt right. It felt like there was, to me, I will probably go and watch it again. But to me, just everything throughout it had a meaning, meant something, needed something. There was brilliantly timed jokes. Ryan Reynolds at his best. Hugh Jackman being brilliant at Wolverine again, taking the piss out of Fox and Marvel as well. I still got that picture in my head when Wesley Snipes goes, "There won't ever be a better Blade," or whatever it was, and then Deadpool just then looks at the camera, and the camera slowly zooms in on his face, and I went, "Oh my god, that's brilliantly timed with everything that's happening right now with it." But for me, if I had to give this out of 10, I'd give it like a million. But if I'm being sensible, I'd give it like a 10 out of 10 already. 200 million in 2 days is just absolutely ridiculous.
That's just Thursday and Friday.
Yeah,
that's not Saturday. They're projecting $400 or more million just in the first weekend. And yes, it's going to take a dip on second weekend, but there's going to be so many. There's going to be so many that are going to be like Bobby's going on Tuesday. There's so many people that are going this week to watch that are. This movie by its first week could be sitting $600-700 billion and easily. I think this movie easily crosses $1 billion. It gets into that talk with Oppenheimer, the Barbenheimer talk and everything. So it's going to be insane. I love this movie. I love this movie. I had such a great time. The music to the comedy beats to the heartwarming stuff to the stuff they talk, like they're showing the tough stuff about depression. And just everything they did, and they did it in such a well done way. I can't wait to watch this again, because I'm excited to watch it again, see all the things, and now start looking for things as I watch it. All the things I've heard about that I did miss, watch to look for those things. It's like some of the Deadpools I missed because I didn't quite see them there. There's all the little cameos, the little Easter eggs that I've read about that I've missed. Taylor Swift's promoting it on her Instagram. Was
Jesus
really going
Christ.
to help, and she's not even in the movie.
No, that's going to hit over $3 billion by the sounds of things if Taylor Swift is doing it.
Because she is Blake Lively is one of her best friends, so that does create a relationship. And again, there's so many there's so many Swifties that probably were going into this weekend thinking I'd already bought tickets, thinking she was going to be in this movie as Dazzler. Hello, Bobby Stat, showing up right as we're finishing, my friend. So before we get out of here, I gotta ask you, where can we find Mark Talks?
So you can find me on Mark Talks Wrestling on YouTube. I've got another channel called Mark Talks Football and another one called Mark Talks Gaming. On Mark Talks Gaming, I'm doing F1. Yeah, I'm doing Mark Talks Gaming. I'm doing F1 Manager 24, and you will see very soon me losing my shit. But not only that, starting Monday, I am doing GTA 5, the full story mode. We will be going through that. Mark Talks Football, I'm currently managing in Japan. And it's all about us trying to win the Asian Champions League and trying to win the league for the very first time in our history for me to then move on. And on Mark Talks Wrestling, I've got WWE 2K24 Universe mode that I do with Bobby Money Munson and Lauren Goodnight. Lauren Goodnight's AEW general manager, not for long. She will be moving to Japan to become New Japan Pro Wrestling general manager. And Bobby Munson's going to be the new TNA general manager starting when the new series starts, and I will be moving the WWE headquarters to England, and it will be WWE UK. So we've got lots of stuff. We're about to, once I finish this, we're going to be recording two special videos, which will be the Royal Rumble. All three of us are going to be sitting down and commentating over the men's and women's Royal Rumble to guarantee their spots for WrestleMania for it. So yeah, a lot's going on, a lot of things are happening. So make sure you go and check it out.
Yeah. And then you can find me. I gotta switch out. I had to go to Bobby's to get your info. So
Yeah, I know.
But I gotta go back to mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can find me right here on OLE every Friday talking with my girl Melba on the Japanese wrestling update. There was an episode this past Friday, but that's just last week was an insane week for both of us, and we were at a show on Friday night, so we couldn't get it live. But yeah, we'll be back this coming Friday. Should be live. Barring any problems. But yeah, you can find us there. You can find me every couple of Wednesdays. I know we have to delay this week due to some issues I was having. We'll be back soon with Marvel Talk again with the MC Rebound. Myself and Ol'Ed, we're going to be talking. Actually, I think we're going to talk the next one maybe this Wednesday. Actually, talking about everything Marvel Talks coming out of the San Diego Comic-Con. So that might come out this Wednesday. We might talk that this Wednesday for a show and come back with MC Rebound down the road. So lots of that coming. You can find me over on my channel, youtube.com/@Andre Melball Wrestling Talk, where you can find me and Melball doing our New Japan coverage, Stardom coverage, Marigold coverage, our local independent wrestling coverage. We got so much going on over there. You can also find me on the X, the Twitter, whatever you want to call it, at That Canada Guy, TikTok, Instagram, and Threads at That Canada Dude, and Facebook. You can find on our page, Andre Melbo Wrestling Talk. Mark, I want to thank you so much. I just want to quickly go through a couple people here saying, Hawkmeister saying, I was shocked that Paul Mullen and Ollie Palmer was in this movie. I'm just not sure what role he played.
He would be the Welsh. He'd be the Welsh Knight then.
Yeah, he was Welsh. The Welsh Knight one. Yeah.
Knight. Yeah.
And then Ryan McElhenney was in this playing one of the TVA agents. I don't know if it's one of the ones that got in the bum or in the groin, or if it was one that he was making eyes at in the hallway. I don't know which one he was. And Bobby, I'm glad you're having a great weekend. Mark's Talks Football is goated. I agree with you, Hawk Maestro. Oh, Ollie Palmer was in the bar. Okay, that makes sense. He was one of the guys drinking in the bar. And was he cut from the film? Oh, you don't do that to the guy you own a team with.
He would have done that on purpose. If McElhenney was cut, that was so done on purpose, just to throw it in his face even more. That's brilliant.
Very much so. But I want to thank all y'all for joining us here in the chat. I want to thank Mark Talks Wrestling for joining us. I want to thank Rich King for joining us. I want to thank Ol'Ed for showing up for just a little bit. So thank y'all, everybody, for being here. We thank you so very, very much for all the great support you have given us here at OLE. We're going to be out of here. So thank you so very much, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Oh, I got to turn that ticker off before I end this thing. Goodbye, all.
Goodbye.